Hello, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Rashida Tlaib's grandmother asks God to ruin Donald Trump as the 90-year-old is pulled into a geopolitical argument. Crying over melted ice, people mourn a glacier in Iceland. Will you boycott the new Mulan? The internet wants you to. We'll tell you why. And everyone's Monday spirit animal in Animals Doing Stuff. And at the top of our newsfeed, Rashida Tlaib's grandmother. Now, she is 90 and lives in Palestine. The Congresswoman was due to go there to visit her, but that visit was banned by the Israeli government, who then changed their mind and said that Ms. Tlaib could go with conditions. Conditions Ms. Tlaib rejected. Here's where we are with it now.
I have decided that visiting my grandmother under these oppressive conditions stands against everything I believe in, fighting against racism, oppression, and injustice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Winner here is Tlaib's grandmother. She doesn't have to see her now.
May God punish him. I was happy that she was coming. I was excited that she was coming for her grandmother to see her. What do you want me to tell you? I will slaughter a sheep when she comes. I did that when her mother visited me, and this yard will be full of people.
My Palestinian Sitty loves to laugh, likes her Pringles, doesn't like people randomly opening her fridge, narrates what's happening in Arab soap operas as she's watching them, and is a fan of Family Feud.
My Palestinian Sitty, like other Palestinian grandmothers, has the heart for the land in her DNA. My Sitty grew up not knowing how to read or write, but still raised 7 educated children. She grew up farming all year, growing vegetables, olives, wheat, and taking care of farm animals.
My Sitty Halima, my paternal grandpa, her children and her older grandchildren in Palestine. She was the queen of the household. When she spoke, everyone listened.
It was pretty traumatic to go through what I had to deal with the state of Israel and some of the demands they were asking of me. And, you know, like my grandmother said, I love that you're free as a bird there. You are my dream manifested, and I don't want you to come back here caged. You know, don't come here caged. Come as my free bird. Come as my granddaughter that I'm so proud of.
All right, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Now, tariffs could ruin Christmas, and that led Donald Trump to delay imposing them against Chinese goods until at least the 15th of December. Well, that's what's being reported by CNN, who say they've spoken to people familiar with the matter. Donald Trump has been engaged in a drawn-out trade war with China, part as a way of keeping his campaign promises of being tough on China and part of his protectionist policy. He's also equivocated on the tariffs a number of times in statements and tweets. Margie Record was killed by gunmen in El Paso in the US a couple of weeks ago. Her funeral was held over the weekend, and hundreds of people who did not know her turned up to pay their respects. The funeral home where the service was held put out an invite on Facebook, and people queued to get in. More than 900 floral arrangements were sent and 10,000 messages received. She was buried by her husband Antonio Basco and her children and grandchildren. And in an example of how the internet can be amazing, a woman called Mevan Babakar, who was a refugee from the Iraq War in the 90s, tweeted out a photo, this one, asking for help. She says that the man in the photograph, you'll see him there, gave her a bike when she was a refugee at that camp in the Netherlands, and she wanted to find him to thank you. And the internet did its thing. 36 hours later, Mevan was in Germany meeting the guy who'd given her the bike all those years ago. His name is Egbert, and he is still helping refugees to this very day. Now, there is something of a new beginning in Sudan right now as a long fought for and hard won new power sharing deal is beginning between civilians and the military. Take a look. Next to the US, where there was some street fighting between groups with conflicting ideologies in the city of Portland at the weekend. Now, far-right ethno-nationalists held a rally which far-left anti-fascists tried to break up, and stirring the pot on social media was President Donald J. Trump. Now, glaciers are disappearing as a result of global heating in all parts of the planet. Iceland are particularly bothered about the loss of theirs, and so have held a symbolic ceremony for the first one to go. Here's Karen.
These people are spending their Sunday hiking up a mountain in Iceland to go to a funeral. The mountain was once a glacier. Now scientists and activists say it's the first glacier the country has lost. The OK Glacier was pronounced extinct a decade ago. With its ice mostly melted, today it just goes by the name OK. And with concerns mounting over the future of Iceland's glaciers, scientists created a death certificate for OK and held a ceremony.
It is, they are decreasing very fast, retreating and decreasing in mass very fast, and have been particularly for the last 20 years. Extremely fast deterioration of glaciers. And many of them have left already. Probably close to 100 glaciers have disappeared during the last century.
In 1890, the OK Glacier's ice covered 16 square kilometers. By 2012, that had been reduced to 0.7 square kilometers of melting ice. Scientists say Iceland is losing about 11 billion tons of ice per year.
They fear all of the island's 400-plus glaciers will be gone by the year 2200. Iceland's Prime Minister says she will make climate change a priority when Nordic leaders meet German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Reykjavik on Tuesday.
I think it's so important for every leader of the world to be conscious of that we are seeing the faces of the climate crisis differently around the world, but it's the same crisis, and we need international cooperation on an unprecedented scale. We really need to rethink the way we are working to meet this challenge.
These mourners aren't looking for closure. They want action. They recited poetry, observed a moment's silence, and put up a plaque, which they call a letter to the future. It reads that the monument is aimed at acknowledging what we know, what is happening, and what needs to be done.
I feel sad, and I feel that this moment will be remembered with future generations, and I will know that my grandchildren will ask me how this day was and why I didn't do enough.
And as the plaque says, only future generations will know if we did enough.
We keep spinning around the world now for some other stuff you need to know this Monday. Now, red meat could become the next item to be highly taxed to try and put people off eating it. And it's to help with the climate crisis. The production of red meat products like steak and burgers are extremely costly in terms of the environment. Not only do cows give off large amounts of methane, but the space to keep them in places like Brazil is causing mass deforestation. The plan apparently being discussed by governments all over the world could be to place higher taxes on the meaty products, just the way they have on cigarettes. A Canadian diver has reported finding tropical fish in the waters of Nova Scotia, a place they should not be. That's because Canadian waters are warming at an increasing rate due to the climate crisis. The diver, Lloyd Bond, has photographed cornet, trigger and pufferfish and seahorses. These species are native to the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Now, one area off the coast of Canada in the Gulf of Maine recorded its warmest ever ocean temperatures in July. And a dugong called Miriam became internet famous this year after being rescued from a beach in Thailand where she seemed to be hugging the people that saved her. She's now dead. The vets say that she had an infection which was made worse by large amounts of plastic waste found in her stomach. The latest Disney live-action remake is coming in for some flack on social, and it's way more important and political than the fact the characters' faces look too realistic. And last up today, we have an animal doing stuff for you, and this one is not really doing very much at all, which is kind of why the video has had quite so many views. Now, this was posted onto Facebook, and it is a wallaby eating snacks while flat on its back. It was filmed in the Rainforestation Nature Park in Queensland, Australia. And as you can imagine, it's gone viral with many people saying the wallaby is basically them. And that will do from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel and follow me on Twitter. Follow, subscribe and Ad. See you again tomorrow.